Hi, welcome to the Rittners Floral School in Boston, Mass. I'm Dr. Steve Rittner, and it's a pleasure to have you come into one of our classrooms today. The time of the year, late spring. And what we thought we would do in this brief video is to show you some examples of some amazing late spring designs that we can come up with. Normally, we love the seasons and the various kinds of materials that are available to us at the different times of year. And somehow late spring always seems to get lost in the mix. I mean, we normally think of spring as daffodils, iris, tulips, and those are amazing materials. But there are some really neat materials that become available to us at this time of the year that can produce truly amazing effects in our floral art. We'd like to share some of that with you today. And I think a good example are these two designs that we're starting with. These designs that you see here on our counter are made using viburnum. Now look at them, they're really great. You notice that there are two different varieties of viburnum that are here. There's a snowball variety, which is kind of like little balls, they're really cool, and then viburnum dentatum, which is a little flatter. These are absolutely amazing. They come in this bright green, they stand very nicely on their own, or they mix nicely. You'll notice in this particular case we've got a green container, we've got the viburnum just hanging out of it, looking very pretty. It's a very natural effect. It looks really cool. In the case of this one, we've got a base that is covered with our moss, and the base that's covered with the moss looks very natural. And we've got, again, our viburnum coming out of this, giving us the bottom part of our design, and then just a little counterpart using a little bit of our river cane, a couple of our roses. It gives a really neat effect. In other words, these materials are really great. They are not things that we think of normally with spring, and yet they work so well and they give such great effects. They look natural, they're pretty, I mean, they're just amazing. Incidentally, these particular materials that we're showing you here today are from the folks at Blooming and Beloit in Beloit, Wisconsin. They produce really some amazing kinds of materials that enhance our designing in so many ways. Now, in this particular case, you notice with these two designs, we have examples where the material is standing on its own. But I want you to see how these materials also mix nicely with other things. So let me move this, my viewer, so that you can get an idea how some of these great materials do mix very well with other materials. Here is an arrangement. It is typical of some of the centerpieces that have become very popular at the present time. It's made in a cylinder. We've got some aspidistra going around the base. It looks very natural. It's got that beautiful compact look that is so popular in party work and function work and so forth. And let's analyze what we're using on the top here. We've got some of the things that we always associate with beautiful party and function work. We've got some of our hydrangea in white. We have some of our hydrangea in green. We have some of our roses mixed in. We also are taking advantage of the fact that some of the mini carnations are available in so many wonderful colors, and so you'll notice that we've got mini carnations here in our red violet. But notice also what we're mixing in here. We've got several varieties of our viburnum also mixed in here and here and here. In other words, these materials just play very nicely, not only on their own, but they also play nicely with friends, and they do very well in that capacity. So if you're thinking in terms of doing table centerpiece work for parties, functions, weddings, or just for a dinner party, think, if you will, of mixing some of the viburnum in with some of your other materials, because you can come up with some truly amazing results. Now, this design is a rather modest design, but let's look at something a little bit bigger. And to look at something a little bit bigger, we'd like to show another one of the flowers that is available from Blooming and Beloit around this time of the year that is just a great spring material. This is really cool. Very cool. This is not for everybody. You have to have very adventurous tastes for this particular one. This particular flower, believe it or not, is a variety of allium. It's a variety of allium. It happens to be Allium siculum hanging bell. And if you look at this particular flower, it almost looks like little bells just hanging off. It is truly an amazing flower. Here, you can see it close up. This is not for the traditional, this is for somebody who wants something that really is unusual and a little bit different. And in this particular case, making use of the trend these days of using columns, we have this in a column, a glass column, and we have a nest of some of our willow at the top. And the nest of the willow is being used to secure this so that we can control our placement. Sometimes when we place these things, and just taking a flower that is an amazing flower and placing it on its own in a vase works so well as far as coming up with a nice effect. This kind of design would work very, very nicely in an entry area. It would work very, very nicely in a bay window. It gives a really, really cool effect. To create an integrated effect on this, we've also got not only our willow up here, but also some of our willow is down here in the container itself. So that adds added texture, added interest, and it helps integrate the bottom of the design also with the middle of it. And then we've got the amazing allium that is just sitting there right on display. It is really, really a nice kind of material. And again, this is something we normally wouldn't consider when we're talking in terms of springtime. We think of the standards, but let's start thinking out of the box in terms of some of these other amazing materials that are available at this particular time of year. Okay, here's another one, a little bit larger, very, very dramatic, very dramatic. Let's pull this right in here so that you can see it, my viewer. Again, spring materials is the theme here, late spring, and look at how big this one is. This is really, really cool. We've been very busy. Our staff here has been working very, very hard so that you can see some really cool ideas. And these are things that you can do and you can achieve in your designing and come up with some really great effects. The flower that's featured in this particular one is another one of these wonderful flowers that does become available at this time of the year. It is very, very cool. It is called spirea. Spirea. There are various varieties of spirea that do become available at this time of the year. The folks at Blooming of Beloit produce some amazing spirea. And the spirea that you see here is being featured predominantly on its own in this design, but to create a counterpoint and balance, we have curly willow placed on through the top, and then to create again an integration of the two materials, curly willow is placed into the container, into the column, so it is going around the stems of the spirea. The overall result gives us essentially a mono kind of design because we are featuring the spirea here, but the use of the curly willow gives added texture, added interest, and a little bit of visual variety on it. These flowers are truly amazing. They're absolutely gorgeous to look at. I can't tell you how much I groove on these things. I mean, when we look at this, look at this stuff. Isn't it amazing? It's just absolutely beautiful product, and we can do so much with this in our designing to come up with some really, really cool effects, really neat effects, in terms of coming up with beautiful ideas for late spring. So we have a very, very neat design making use of the spirea and the curly willow. Let's shift gears a little bit, my viewer, and come up with a few other additional ideas that I think you might find interesting. We can do some cool things, mixing things together. Here, for example, is another idea, making use of some of these great materials. Again, we have the use of the spirea. You notice that we have branches of spirea here on the top. We have more spirea coming down over here. The use of our viburnum placed in here, through here. And then again, it plays nicely with other materials. We've got some very, very prestigious roses, a few gerbera mixed in here. It works so nicely. In this particular case, what makes this design interesting, it is a modular approach. Modular meaning more than one section all kind of working together. So you have a section of the design here and a section of the design here. But notice what has happened here. We've got a base that's rather interesting, a cylinder, and then another cylinder that we've basically placed on its side, glued them together, placed some of our foam media in both, and we've got them both as one container, but it is made up of two component parts with two separate sections. These designs are interesting, they're a little off the beaten track, and that's the whole idea, my viewer. What we're trying to show you here today are ways that you can take some of these amazing spring materials like spirea, like viburnum, use them alone, mix them with other things that we are used to, like our gerbera and our roses, and come up with some truly neat things that will enhance your life and also make your surroundings so much nicer. Isn't that a pretty design? I think so. I think it works so well. Well, if you like this one, wait, there's more. We've got a very neat design that we want to show you, talking about mixing things together. Okay, my viewer, just bear with me for a second while I move things around here, because here is one that is really cool. Look at this one. Isn't this gorgeous? Now, in this particular case, we're using the spirea again. And again, the spirea works so well because it's got a very distinctive kind of look to it. It's got these delicate white little florets that work so well. We're mixing it in with a flower that happens to be one of our favorites here at Rittners Floral School. We love orchids. Orchid happens to be one of the largest families of flowers that there are. They come in so many different varieties. In this particular case, we've got dendrobium orchids, which come in things like the red violet, in white, in blush. There are, of course, many other orchids out there. Dendrobium are a particular favorite of ours because you can take these stems, push them in all directions, come up with amazing effects, and do it fairly quickly. And you'll notice that in this particular case, by taking the dendrobium orchids and shooting them out here, we come up with a very expansive effect. It looks very pretty. And then taking some of the spirea and working it in between, working it around, it comes up with an amazing effect. So we're using two spiky kinds of things to come up with something that is really incredible, very showy. I don't mind telling you this one is going to go up on my mantle when we're through with this video, but it is just a beautiful flower, and it works so well, and it works so well with the dendrobiums. So notice, by taking some of our spirea, mixing it with dendrobiums for counterpoint, we've got a great effect. Incidentally, one of the interesting things about this design, it is a little bit asymmetric. In other words, you'll notice it's not a perfect mirror image from one side to the other. We have deliberately got a section hanging down just a little bit lower because that adds additional visual interest. Think outside of the box. They don't have to be perfectly symmetrical. We love the symmetrical designs, as we showed with the glass cylinder, but sometimes when we go just a little bit asymmetrical, it does give a very interesting kind of flavor to our designing, and we can come up with some really cool things. Okay, what else do we have, my viewer? We've got several more things to show you that I think you're going to find kind of neat. We're getting gradually bigger, aren't we? And here is a big one. Water-based designing. Water-based designing doesn't have to be teeny tiny. Water-based designing can be fairly large, and you'll notice in this particular case we happen to have a water-based design. It is big, it is expansive. We've got a cylinder of lavender glass, but notice our materials. We have, again, some of these wonderful materials of spring. We have in this particular design, of course, our spirea that you've been seeing through the demonstration. We have some hydrangea, but we also have some of this amazing willow. This is salix, it's willow, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's mixed in with some of our favorites, like our roses, our snapdragon here, coming around here. Some of our spray roses are worked in here, gerbera, iris, which of course we associate with this particular time of the year. All of these materials make a truly amazing design. It is a big piece. Obviously, somebody who gets this is well admired because this design certainly shows a lot of value and certainly shows an amazing amount of interest. Dendrobiums in here. It is certainly a prestigious design and one that certainly says, I love you. Beautiful designing using some of our spring materials. And then finally, my viewer, I want to show you one more design because we've been working very hard here at Rittners to come up with some various ideas for you. This is a design that is a multi-purpose unit. And again, it is making use of these amazing materials that we have at this time of the year. This is an amazing urn. An urn. Isn't this beautiful? This one almost looks like a Dutch Flemish picture, doesn't it? And again, making use of these beautiful materials that we have available to us from Blooming Abelloid spring materials. Notice again in this particular design, the spirea featured very, very prominently through the arrangement. The use of our viburnum placed here, here, here throughout that works so well. Mix this with some of our hydrangea, some of our salix, our willow. It works very nicely. And then again, they play so nicely with some of our other materials that we find throughout the year. Things like our roses, our snapdragon, our gerbera. It all works so well together. This kind of design is pretty as a picture. It's absolutely amazing. This could be used for wedding use. It could be used on the altar. It could be used in a bay window. It could be used in an entry area. It could be used to say I love you, or it could be used for so many things, including tribute work. This design is a multi-purpose unit in an urn. It works so nicely. And yet this is a late spring design, late spring, as all of the designs that we're showing you here today. Well, my viewer, we've covered a lot of ground in a very, very short period of time. You've noticed that in this particular video, we've been showing you a wide variety of different designs intended for late spring, that when we're talking spring, we don't have to just confine ourselves to things like daffodils and tulips. We can play with many, many other kinds of materials. And I would urge you to break out of the box. Think in terms of other things for spring. Things like spirea, things like our salix, our willow, things like our viburnum. Because we can take some of these amazing materials that become available to us at this time of the year and come up with some truly, truly amazing floral art. On behalf of all of us here at Rittners Floral School, it was a pleasure to have you come in and visit our classroom today. We hope you enjoyed this brief video, and we hope to see you again real soon in another in our series of video demonstrations online. On behalf of all of us, we thank you. I'm Dr. Steve Rittner. Have a lovely day and enjoy playing with some of your spring materials. Thank you.